Well, hello. I'm one of Ron's digital helpers, and I'm here to talk about the second assignment for workforce planning. Now, Ron has given me a copy of the template. I understand he's given you a copy, so you should be having this in front of you. The template's also available on eLearn, and you should download the electronic version so that you can actually fill in the spaces. Use the template and you will pass the assignment. If you don't use the template, then it'll be a resubmit. Okay? Use the template. Now let's go through this document step by step. So let's go to the introduction and overview. What are you required to put into this space? Well, first question is, why do we need to undertake workforce planning? Second question, how does workforce planning benefit our organisation? Well, the question asks you really to do a bit of research. Go back and look at the materials you've got, look at the PowerPoints, or do some research of literature on this subject yourself. Now, if you do actually get information from other sources, remember the citation rules. Cutting and pasting without the citation rules constitutes plagiarism. All right, so let's move on to the second part, and it says the scope of this workforce plan. Well, read that because essentially you don't need to complete it, but it gives you an example of the sort of material or information you'd put in this sort of space in a real workforce plan, okay? It's part of your learning process. And on you go, please read it. There's also another section called external environment. In blue, you'll see that Ron says no need to complete this section. Again, just read it for your own information. The same goes with the internal environment. So let's now move along with the current workforce profile. Now you go back to the assignment 1 exercise and the class exercise where we actually had an organisation and we created a profile. So what do you do here? Well, you refer to the org chart as if it was really there, but there is no need, and I'll repeat, no need to really attach it to the document, okay? But you all know which org chart we're talking about. If you haven't been attending classes, well, you might be very confused, and this could be very difficult. The org chart is also part of assignment number 1. So if you've done assignment number 1, which is most of you, you'd be familiar with this org chart. Now, what you need to do is do a bit of a brief summary of the org chart in terms of demographics. You can use graphs if you like, or you can use dot point. The management demographic is how many people we've got, what are the job roles. You can put in a table if you like. Whatever you do, you're summarising the org chart. Okay? Now, what data sets are important? Again, you go back to your workforce analysis report, and what you're talking about there is, well, some of the findings you found in your first assignment. Cut and paste, rejig it, summarise it, because your analysis report does become an attachment. Again, you do not need to put your analysis report and attach it to this assignment, but you do actually refer to it as if it was attached. Is that understood? We then move back to another part and we look at workplace priorities. So we're asking the question, what are the current workforce priorities based on your workforce profiling and analysis? Again, refer to your first assignment. Now, you don't have to actually use the same analysis. You may have revised your analysis since your first assignment, and you can do that as well. Again, it's a brief summary. Is that understood? So we then go to future workforce profile. Again, no need to fill this in, but read it because It's educational. The importance is of reading through this document, filling in the sections you need to. You get to understand what a workforce plan looks like, what it actually is comprised of. Okay, so we're going over to question 7, the gap analysis and closing strategies. Now remember, the gap analysis is the gaps you have identified in your analysis report in terms of how many people are going to leave as a result of retirement or turnover in accordance with various job roles. And very briefly, so okay, the gap analysis for the senior management staff could be what? It could be attraction, which are your recruitment strategies. It could be retention, it could be succession planning, or some learning and development. Now, pay attention to what Ron says in the subsequent lectures. Look at the materials again and consider which of these you would include for the various gaps you have analysed in your first assignment. They don't necessarily have to be just retention. It could be a combination of retention of some of the older workers and succession planning. So that to retain the older workers, you might be saying, well, okay, what does it take to forestall the retirement so that I have a succession planning strategy? So these you will discuss very briefly. Okay, so there is another question with regard to succession planning, and I suppose it's a bit of a trick question, and I'm always giving away the answer. If you haven't been watching this video and you're not quick on the uptake, you might be scratching your head. But obviously, you'll be looking at how will your plan address the retirements. Now, there could be a mature age strategy which allows retirees to maybe reconsider retiring if, for example, you have work-life balance that suits their needs. Grandparent leave, part-time work, extended purchase leave. Okay? And you may also look at the high turnover of critical job roles. So these are the sort of areas that you may want to talk about in terms of, well, maybe we might want to instigate a questionnaire to establish why people are leaving. It could be that there's no career path. It could be a whole variety of reasons. And these are again put into the plan very briefly. Now in the space below is your action plan. Now you actually have an Appendix B, and you will complete this Appendix B. This is actually going to be attached to the document, all right? And like a sort of Gantt chart, all the activities, you might have a subheading, succession planning, and all the activities at what period, at what point in the 3-year time frame you will undertake. So this actually is your action plan. This is your workforce plan. And then you have a conclusion. So what are the key outcomes of those action plan? Well, you want to retain good staff, you want to attract good staff, and on it goes. More importantly, you've got to consider how you're going to evaluate your action plan. Now these will be discussed in future sessions, so hold off a little bit unless you've got some good ideas. And then you go to your action plan and you have intervention, which could be succession planning. This could be made up of a whole range of activities that you've considered, and you can then either draw a line, or some of you are clever, you can actually do this electronically and indicate when it will start and when it will complete. Now there will be an evaluation strategy right across the board as well, so you may have an intervention called evaluation. And the activities could be, what are you evaluating? Obviously you're going to evaluate all the interventions above, aren't you? All right, well, that's it. So I'll leave you to it. Enjoy the assignment. Now, if you are confused, play me again, and again, and again, and again. Because, I'm only digital. I'm never bored. See ya.